to the Marketing Brief Podcast. I am your host, Brian Aquan. This is the podcast where we briefly touch on subjects across the marketing landscape, and we're always joined by an industry expert. And today we're very excited to be joined by Brian Linder. Brian, welcome into the pod.
Thanks, Brian. It's always good to have two Brians in one place.
Brian, would you like to introduce yourself and what you're working on?
Sure. I'm a creative director and co-founder of a boutique agency called This Will Be Good. Right now, it's composed of three individuals, myself, who's more on the art side, co-founder on the writing side, and the co-founder who's strategy. And we're a boutique agency designed to provide basically everything that an agency can provide you without the bloat. And we say all the good stuff that you get in an agency, and the whole objective is to be able to move friction free for our clients, to be able to move fast, to be able to be efficient. And we've gotten really good at our jobs over the years, and we've realized it's a lot easier for us to move when we don't have a giant agency surrounding us. And so, yeah, we work on clients such as Good Golf, the world's finest chocolate right now in Builders Movement, Texas. We're brand new and having a really good time enjoying the freedom and this making our mark in this weird fluid place that the
Well, I've
advertising
spent
world is in
time
right
at
now.
large agencies. I think the promise of the boutique agency is just that, right? It's the nimbleness. It's, what can we cut out for clients and still deliver? Why do you think that's important, I guess, right now, right? In 2026, why do you think boutique agencies seemingly doing really well?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with purses getting tighter. The budgets are getting smaller and smaller. Large agencies have an enormous amount of overhead that they have to worry about. They have enormous payrolls. And so they have to charge a lot, and people just get more expensive year after year. And you're having agencies that have to make cuts, and they can't afford a whole creative department and a strategy department and a copywriting department and an account management department and a media and so on and so forth. And so if you could just have the right three people, that's really all you need. And you find that anybody who works in the advertising or marketing world really knows that the work's getting done by three or four people that are really tuned in. A lot of other people are making comments or on the side or setting. The money situation has a lot to do with it. You have to become more efficient, and the boutique agency is able to do that. I think
Yes.
another element is the emergence of AI, which is a huge force multiplier for people like myself and for agencies. So everyone's trying to figure out right now what that means, what that looks like. I think we don't know yet where this all is going to go. I've got some interesting theories and thoughts on it. But for right now, to have somebody who's got 25 years creative experience and all the tools of AI at their disposal, they can operate like a whole
Certainly.
creative department just themselves. So I think that the opportunity for boutiques to fill this this gap that sort of occurred between
Yeah,
needs
I've
and
certainly over my
budgets.
career seen it ebb and flow. I graduated in 1999, started at an agency in New York City, and digital media was on the rise, right? And then you started to see all these digital only shops crop up and creative digital shops. And then I think I saw it, then the big guys kind of suck them up and say, okay, this is a capability of mine now. And then mobile makes its, statement there. And it's again, move towards, do you have a mobile agency? How do you figure that out? And now we're obviously in the AI age. I think it's also like agencies do figure things out, right? It's because they have to, right? Their business is to know these things and to help clients kind of navigate these waters. So it doesn't surprise me that clients and brands are looking to boutique agencies to help them figure out AI right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And in some cases sure they want to figure out AI, but they want to solve their problems without breaking their own banks. And the work we do in advertising and marketing, it isn't that hard. If you spend all your time focused on it and doing it. But sometimes agencies can make it seem harder. You work with a boutique, you're talking to the guy directly. There aren't all these layers. You don't have a creative from a art director and copywriter come up with an idea. The ACD needs to look at it. The CD needs to look at it. The ECD, the CCO, all on and on. And then you understand, oh, that's why it takes 5 weeks for them to put a
Yeah.
campaign presentation in front of me. It's a lot when you're just dealing with a couple of people. And we like to say that, we keep our clients on the group chat. And so there is this closeness that happens, directness. We are available. You're talking to the people. You don't have to play any game of telephone tag to get your directions across. I think that's also, as the small scale becomes really nice for people.
Yeah, I think the small scale works on both sides too, right? I think, as we move in our careers, we get further away from work, right? But I love to have my hands on the work, especially when there are big changes in the industry, like new tools and new trends. So that definitely works from an employee
Yeah.
standpoint. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, there's three people touching your business, right? Do you want them to be super junior? Do you want them to be super senior? Like, how close do you want the people who are ultimately making the decisions and have all of the experience? How far do you want them from the work? Nope, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think you want them too far from the work, really. And that's part of it. Like when you become a chief creative officer, you're not doing the work
Yeah,
anymore. You're dealing with office culture, office politics, sort of stuff. And
yeah,
when you're a
you
small
certainly don't.
boutique agency, you don't
Well,
have a
I
lot
know
of that.
you're big into AI and you've done AI filmmaking. When did you start that? Because you've started that a while ago, right?
Well, I started as soon as Midjourney had a competent model. It was a mind blower. I want to say it's maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Became, before that, when you're presenting client, you have to show them the thing you want to make before they've funded you, they've given the funds for you to make the thing you want to make. And so you have to share visuals that represent what you're trying to make. And you do that with mood boards, you do that with long image searches, comping things up with a Getty Images account, taking images and like making new things. So just try to, people that are oftentimes working in marketing on the client side don't have a creative foundation typically. And in the old days when you'd show just a pen line of one board and you'd read your script and everybody could use the theater of the mind and their abilities to abstract to be able to see. And that's kind of gone away. And so you really need to show clients a really close approximation of what it that you're selling. And Midjourney really, for me, it was Midjourney. There were others around at the time that really kind of broke open the Pandora's box was open and it wasn't going to get closed again. And I stopped my Getty Image account. Whenever I'm pitching, I will certainly do mood boards and take inspiration from other places. But when it comes to building a frame, tool, and that sort of stuff, a lot of times I would use Midjourney. Period. And our whole team did. And so it was used to build visuals and decks. And that led me into prompt engineering with the assistance of a Claude or a ChatGPT. And that takes it to a whole other level. For a lot of times, I don't even see the prompts I'm writing. I tell it like I'm talking to a director of a film. This is what I want. You're a director of a film. I'm your agency. These are the things I want you to make. Write the prompt as though you're talking to your director of photography. And then it would come up with these long prompts. And I'm not even reading the prompts at
Yeah.
that point. I'm just boom, grab my prompt, throw it in. And then AI film started coming along and becoming its efficacy was getting stronger. I'd say a year plus ago. It's before VO3 came out. It was when Cling had and Runaway were starting to hit their stride. And I decided I need to be able to make films. And so I just went through the process. I made a 4 minute kind of music video, wrote the song, recorded the music, put it all together. It's a crazy story about
A
what would
salsa?
happen if a salsa caused the
Yeah.
apocalypse. Salsa, so hot. It's called Conte. And I'm playing with a consistent character, trying to create dance, trying to create consistent scenes that the character kind of moves around in. And that became, I don't know, that became a thing that got some other people to say, oh, you can do that. Hey, would you do this for me? And so started getting some commissions. There's company called AI Assurance. That's kind of a startup uh, they're the guys that make sure your AI is doing what it's supposed to be takes businesses like construction, engineering, medical, that world. And so that's a perfect AI film. And so did some stuff for that. And there's an app called Sportsmo that sort of gamifies donations to your college of choice. If you love, let's take Texas. If you went to Texas University and you're a big fan of their football teams, well, you can make bets during the game real time. Only instead of getting money back from your bet, you're donating. So, hey, if this quarterback, if they make a turnover here, I'm going to give you $50. They make a turnover, boom, your $50 goes. So it's a kind of
Gotcha.
gamifies giving to your alma mater. And their situation was they just had a pretty expansive media plan, but they didn't have the money to get the video for it. And so I was able to make a video that practically probably would have cost them $600,000. AI, you're able to create things that are, for that type of business that makes sense. I think if you are Coca-Cola, you should probably be making the stuff for real. We think that there is something important about have it done for real. There's a right time and a right place to use AI film. It's not a fix for everything. There's a right situation, there's a wrong situation, and I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on that now, but every quarter the tools get stronger and the
Yeah.
rules sort of
But it
slide around.
also, this is something I've been thinking about with AI is just how it's leveling the playing field. And like you said, Coca-Cola is still has an expensive creative agency. They're still spending a lot of money. They're still shooting things like a film. And then you've got these challenger brands that can come up and almost meet the same quality, if not meet the same speed. They could certainly challenge larger brands
Yeah.
and larger productions with a more lean kind of approach.
It is, and you see, like, Ben Affleck's AI studio that he's selling to Netflix, it's not replacing the human element with AI so much as creating, like, the special effects. It's getting
Yeah.
rid of a lot of the production drag and expense that comes with it, and so you could just have 2 people acting in a living room that's not set up to be the scene or anything, and then transform it into the scene you want. Or, it's the emergence of the virtual wall, the volume that a lot of people are using these days, the evolution of the green screen to those volumes. And then now it's like, oh no, we could just shoot people on a whole white background, set up the obstacles, and then just automatically
Yeah.
repaint the
That's
background scenes to
fascinating.
be whatever you want.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. Like our clients at Good Golf, they're a brand that spun out of a crazy successful YouTube golf trend. These golf creators just became super famous and started an apparel brand and started a legit golf brand that's, Callaway for under 40s. And for those guys, using AI doesn't make a lot of sense because it's about authenticity. It's about really knowing the guys. It's about these personalities. The spirit of the brand is born out of something that's very real. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to go into that realm. That said, when we've done some work with them that requires VFX, we go to the VFX people and we're using AI. We're not paying a bunch of money to create. There's a spot we did for them, an anthem that has a trophy that swings his club, like a golf trophy, and he just swings his club. And that was a shot of a real trophy that we got. We were talking about, should we make it move or not? And I was like, no, it should be, let's keep it realistic. Let's keep it earthy, and not bring in the AI stuff. But then I was like, but show me what you got. And the next day I looked at a cut and they had that in there. And I was like, okay, we got to do that. It's just such a memorable little moment. The guy swings, it looks great. And they actually did a test. One person tried to create a model of it to do it practically in AI, and there was no, from image quality to speed of getting
Yeah.
it put together, there was no comparison. And I like, you want to make your decks move. Our decks have little GIFs running and things in, and creative kind of comes to life a little bit more. It's a really fun tool. And I'll tell you, man, working on it just by myself, I felt like I was like a conductor of an orchestra. It felt like all the team was there. I would just talk to it like I was talking to a director or producer, like, hey, let's make this. Oh, let's make that over here. And hey, let's have this look more like that. And it's so fluid, um, and so quick to go from idea to thing that you're looking at.
Yeah,
It's a
I've
little
found that too
addictive.
in my
It does get a
writing.
little addictive.
It really helps me iterate a lot quicker and see different points of view and really try out things. And I almost describe it
Oh
as
yeah.
like, I'll have a point of view and then I'll flip it up in the air with my AI agent and be like, hey, yeah, what if I
Yeah,
looked at it from this point of view? What if I looked at it from this point of view? I'd love to get your take on this though, because I'm thinking,
absolutely.
in the content we're seeing now, and we're seeing a lot more AI generated content. I think the thing that's always going to be missing if there is no human involved is one, heart, and two, taste. Is there anything else? I think of taste as like what are you choosing to tell a story about? And heart being the human telling the story, because to date, still, there are humans who are receiving these stories, right? And the ones that are told by humans are certainly going to resonate. Is there anything else you think that AI lacks, or do you agree with those?
I mean, we are in the age of discernment. To comment about taste, that is a really experienced, seasoned creative is going to have a larger mental Rolodex of styles and things to instigate prompts and to kind of guide style. So you're starting with, you can go in to start making prompts. I would rather have somebody who's been doing this for 20 years working on prompts. They're going to have better results than someone who's been doing it for a year. There is that. And so the discernment is key. Any CMO can create a video of something, but will they have the taste to know whether it's good or not? That's one thing. And the other thing is, and this plays into the taste element as well, is, you know, AI gives you a whole lot of options, but humans keep. I don't think If you want to tell a story that's going to make the hair raise on somebody's neck in a good way, if you want to tell a story that's going to make someone laugh out loud or cry or, really get hit in the feels, I really don't see AI providing that much. I got to give a lot of credit to our copywriter who he can outright AI any day of
Yeah.
the week. And it's not the speed necessarily, but he's going to
Yeah,
say
it's a
things that
life
no
lived,
prompts are going
right?
to get you to, you know. Yeah. To your point of kind of like um I don't know, using it as a way to sort of like version out your thinking or to challenge your thinking in various ways. For me, it gets me out of my AD&D. You using ChatGPT or Claude for copy gets me out of my ADD spin. It's really put a lot of things out there that my mind can respond to. Because there's that thing where you're just throwing a lot of things together, and then you need to go through and filter and see if these things really work or not. But working with an AI, it's like you can just get tons and tons of ideas. Hardly ever do I use anything right from AI, but I'll see two things and a connection will happen in my brain to it. And then I'll feed that back into the AI and starts, spawning off of that. And so for me, when it comes to writing, it's incredibly quick. It's a great way for me to get over that sort of first hour rut of trying to get the gunk out of concepting. But for people like my copywriting
Yeah,
partner, like he just does that automatically. Like words just
that's
flow
awesome.
out,
Well, I
in
always
a
ask my
wonderful
my
way.
guests, what's something they're excited about? Is there something in your professional capacity? Obviously, you have a new venture, or your personal capacity that you're excited about right now?
Man, I don't know if I'm excited. Excited is a good way to say it, but when I look at how AI is evolving, how I look at what Apple's doing, and Apple's Tim Cook's just stood down, and the two guys that are in charge now is a hardware guy and a chip designer. They are betting, and there's some other pundits in the tech world that are talking about this, that Apple is betting on going from cloud compute to local compute is going to be something we have to do because the cost of running ChatGPT is not going to be covered by our subscription fees. It's going to get too it's going to get too crazy. And the way that they're scaling is just it's not going to make sense. And it's going to get to a point where if I want to be able to afford all these tokens, I need to be working for an enterprise company or I won't have the resources to have access to this device. Companies that are high stakes environments like medical or engineering that are going to want to have an in-house device to protect privacy. They want to have things that aren't attached to the cloud. And so I think Apple's thinking about this where you're going to have to go back from the cloud back to your computer to have control over this stuff. And so you're seeing the Apple minis are selling out like crazy because all these AI
Gotcha.
engineers are using them as compute boxes, which is really cool. And so we might look in about 2 years, we might not be talking about ChatGPT anymore. We might not. We might be to all have our Apple devices, all the AI tools. We don't have to pay for subscriptions. If we do, we'll probably pay an Apple subscription. But to get to a point where all that processing for any videos you're making or any chat that you're using is all being done locally, like here. And I get excited about that because it returns control to the individual. I also love it because it's
Yeah.
it's kind of Apple's model coming full circle. Because model was like, hey, they have these supercomputers that can do amazing things. I just want a tiny little computer that can help people make small apps. And then it went from you could only get it from all these guys to having on your own terminal. And then it went out to the cloud and everything became cloud. And now it's like coming back to what Apple does best. So I'm excited about that
Yeah.
because I don't think any of us know where this is going. And a lot of things shifting every day. A lot of the tools we're using right now might disappear just as fast as they showed up. And there might be a lot of structuring that kind of takes place through all that. And so I'm excited by the independence, hopefully, that can afford us. And anytime we put the AI in an individual's control instead of being owned by some giant conglomerate, where you don't know what that information is doing, you don't know who's using it, you don't that data is going. It feels good to know that there's a movement within this
Mhm.
world of AI.
That's awesome and great insight. Thanks for sharing that. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining me. Your new venture, this will be good. Yeah.
This will be good. Not There Will Be
One of
Blood,
mine too.
which is a great movie, one of my
This
favorite
will be
movies.
good.
This will be
How do
good.
people get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you?
You could go to thiswillbegood.co. Do not go to
Or just stop
.com,
after
go
the
to
C? Oh,
.co or
yeah.
just Google This Will Be Good agent. That's right. It's a CO and it's not. Um, And yeah, just reach out, send us an email, give us a call.
That's awesome.
We love helping
Brian
people
Linder,
solve
thank you for
problems.
being the guest today on the Marketing Brief podcast. I am your host, Brian Aquan, and stay curious, everyone.